Hey folks, welcome to another day, another unboxing. This here is the Honor 9X Pro. Yes, this is one of the first phones from Honor or Huawei. As you know, Honor is a Huawei sub-brand that is not available with Google mobile services. Basically, it is one of the first phones to be a victim of this crazy ban that's going on right now. The US government banning Honor and Huawei products from getting US technology. So while it's running Android, because Android is open source, it is not able to run the Google apps. So it's a bit of a dilemma, and because of that I wanted to try it out because I want to see what life is like with an Android phone that you can't use with Google's apps. So yeah, I'm gonna try this out and let you know how it works out. Until then, let's unbox this together, shall we? Dun, 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 dun. So there it is. Let's pull this out and have a quick look. So here's the phone. There's an IMEI sticker back here, so I'm just going to peel that off real quick. And ta-da! Check out this beautiful back with that X pattern for 9X. Very cool color. Triple camera, as you can see, and there's some other cool tricks about this phone. It does have a pop-up selfie camera right here, so that's kind of cool. But before we get going, I want to check out the rest of the box. There's some IMEI stickers here. First, there is a divider with a SIM removal tool, and let's see what else is in here. Some instructions. Again, this is a Chinese phone, so it has everything in Chinese. And tells you a little bit about, you can see the pop-up camera here, tells you a little bit about things, and apparently it takes a micro SD if you want. So that's pretty cool. You can see it there on the middle of the screen. Anyway, a little Huawei warranty card, I presume, and then a TPU case. Very cool. I love how a lot of Chinese phones come with these high quality custom fitted TPU cases. They don't get brown or yellow over time. They're pretty good quality. So you can see there's a cutout for the power button because there's a fingerprint sensor in the side of the phone. And then of course you have a charging brick, which doesn't look like a super high speed one compared to the other Huawei ones I have. And then of course it's USB Type-C. This is the first time that an Honor X device has Type-C. Last year I believe it's still micro USB. So Type-C and Type-A, pretty much what you'd expect. So that's it for the box. Let's have a look at the phone, shall we? So there it is. There is a 48 megapixel AI camera, as you can see here. And then Honor logo and this, you know, as I said, this really cool X shiny purple pink pattern. Now this phone does have potentially a back made of glass. If it's not, it definitely feels close to glass in terms of finish. There are some cheaper phones like this that have plastic, like basically acrylic with the paint job behind it. So it feels and looks like glass, but might not be. But I have a feeling this is actually real glass. As for the chassis, I'll be honest, this feels like a plastic chassis to me, like a matte finished plastic chassis. So I'm not sure 100% there, but that's my gut feeling. And this is the same as the Moto G7, for example, this year. Had a glass back with a plastic chassis instead of glass back, and aluminum or metal chassis of some kind. And that's how they save a bit of money. I wish it kind of maintained this glass and metal construction even at this price point, but hey. All right, let's look at the front. I'm going to turn that on. There we go. So it says Honor, powered by Android. So it is still an Android phone, but again, no Google mobile services, so no access to Google apps. So this is a 6.59-inch display with just a tiny little chin, as you can see here. Very minimal bezels, no teardrop or notches. You can see there's a hole here for the earpiece, but that's pretty much all you've got on the front of this phone. So oh, looks like somebody already set this up. So basically you got this beautiful IPS panel here. This is not an OLED display, it's an IPS. And it's a really nice quality, you know, good viewing angles. Let me see what the tray looks like, the apps. Yeah, there's a bit of, you know, that dimming from the edges, but lots of reflection in this room right now. But hey, you know, I think it does really look pretty nice. Again, you know, you're looking at a less than $300 phone, but you know, Huawei has so many devices that they can really get affordable displays that are really quality displays as well. So just a little chin, and that's basically it for the display. Since we have the camera here, let's start it up. There's my hand for the rear camera. As you can see, there's a wide, ultra wide option. So that's cool. And you have a zoom, but it doesn't have a telephoto camera. So that's an interesting thing. If we switch to the front camera, you're gonna get that front-facing retractable pop-up camera. That's all the vogue in a lot of phones right now. So that's pretty cool. So let's talk about camera specs. This front camera here is a 16 megapixel f/2.2, so you know, nothing too crazy here. And then the rear cameras, there's 3 of them. The main sensor is a 48 megapixel sensor, f/1.8. I'm not sure what sensor it's using, if it's the Samsung sensor, the Sony IMX586 or 582, which are the very popular 48 megapixel sensors. Now don't let the megapixel count fool you. This actually outputs 12 megapixels. You can force it to do 48, but the idea of the 12 megapixels is that it combines 4 pixels into one for a better quality low light experience by creating really large pixels. Typically the pixels are 0.8 microns, and by combining 4 you get a kind of a super pixels that's 1.6 micron. So that's kind of a technique called quad Bayer binning, and it's pretty common nowadays and does pay off. So glad to see that on a phone that affordable. There's a wide angle, dedicated wide angle. It's an 8 megapixel f/2.4, not the fastest lens. And then there's a 2 megapixel f/2.4 depth sensor used for presumably portrait mode. So that's it in terms of cameras. As you can see, there's the flash here. There's no in-display fingerprint reader since this is an IPS panel. But as I said earlier, the fingerprint reader seems to be embedded in the power lock key on the side, just like the Honor 20 Pro. And then you have the volume rocker here. So on the right side, you have the volume rocker and power button. On the top, you have the SIM tray with micro SD, secondary mic, and that pop-up camera we just saw. And on the left side, there's absolutely nothing. It's just completely devoid of anything. The other reason I know this is plastic is because you don't see any antenna bands on it, right? So even if it was like this kind of anodized frosted metal, you would see antenna bands or feel antenna bands. There is a headphone jack, primary microphone, USB Type-C, and a mono speaker. I'm not sure if it's stereo or mono, but I think it's just mono. Again, first X series phone from Huawei with USB Type-C, so that's kind of cool too. So there you go. That's in a nutshell what this phone is all about. Of course, without Google, this is going to be an interesting experience. I'm going to see if I can find some apps to replace most of my common Google apps and maybe write a story about that or something. But I'll definitely discuss it on the podcast, so stay tuned for that. Also, specs-wise, you know that Huawei and Honor tend to use their own chips, the Kirin high silicon chips. This is a Kirin 810. Their 900 series is a flagship series, so this is kind of like maybe a 700 series processor from Qualcomm, so not bad at all for the price. This comes in 2 versions of either 8 gigs of RAM and 128 gigs of storage, or 8 gigs of RAM and 256 gigs of storage. I'm not sure what I have. Let's find out real quick. Let's go into the settings and look at storage and see what it says. So we have a 128 gig model, as you can see here. So yeah, that's it. Oh yeah, I almost forgot to mention there's a 4,000 milliamp hour battery in this phone, so that's pretty awesome. That is the Honor 9X. Please stay tuned for more about this phone. I'm kind of, again, very bummed, of course, because Huawei and Honor phones have always been so awesome, but with the Mate 30 Pro and this Honor 9X Pro, and in general the whole Mate 30 series and Honor 9X series, these are the first phones from Huawei Honor that do not have GMS and cannot have GMS, meaning that we are stuck with using alternate apps. So I want to try that out, see what it's like. Obviously, it's not a phone I recommend buying, even if you can import it somehow, because no GMS doesn't make sense on an Android phone, in my opinion, especially if you're in the West. Now, if you're in a market that you don't care about GMS and Google Apps, then potentially something to look at. The big claim to fame with this phone, as usual, is the camera system. Honor really puts a lot of emphasis on imaging, and I'm sure it's going to be pretty decent. So that's what I'm going to be testing out. Please stay tuned to the podcast at mobiletechpodcast.com to find out more about this phone, and please subscribe to this channel. Talk to me in the comments, ask me questions about the phone if you'd like. Please tell your friends, click that little notification bell so you hear and find out when new videos come out. And as I said, the podcast, you should subscribe. It's on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Pocket Casts, Overcast, TuneIn Radio, Spotify. mobiletechpodcast.com is the URL. I hope you join us. That's it, folks. Stay tuned for more. Cheers, everybody.